Greetings, everyone. Hello, I'm Robin Eichert here with Brandy Hayden. We're doing our video series. As you know, you've been watching. There are real-world answers to your workplace dilemmas, and we have been having a variety of different topics around managing, coaching, hiring, and today we are very excited to have a guest here with us, Eric Friedman, who's CEO of eSkill. Eric started the company in 2003. And we're going to be learning more about the organization and why he started it and what they offer and how it can benefit you. I have had experience with some of my clients using eSkill in the past very successfully. It gives a new dimension, I think, to helping you understand more about the individual that you're about to hire. And I suspect there could be some applications for current employees, but we'll find out from Eric about that. So we have some questions that we're going to be asking. We have some questions that we're going to be asking Eric. And first, Eric, I'd really like for you to sort of give us a foundation of a little bit about your own background and why you did start eSkill.
So eSkill, when I started that, I met with the guy who was a senior software architect, and he would hire people all over the world to do different technical roles for large projects. And most of these roles required multiple disciplines. So if you wanted to work on developing a new implementation for GE, you might have to know Java, Perl, C++ at different levels, and maybe to certain subtopics of each one. And skills testing was really a way to cut through all the noise of all the candidates you were screening, because by answering a test of maybe like 10, 20, 30, 40 questions, you get a sense of who knew enough to really be considered more strongly when you invest man hours and flights or conferences to get to know them better.
Right.
But there's no product that existed, actually, honestly, to this day, that enables you to quickly and easily customize a skills test that maps to a job description, where you can do that. So that was the founding vision of eSkill. And we launched with a SaaS on the cloud in 2003 before those were SQLs used. We've grown every year, and today we serve thousands of companies globally, some of the biggest names in the world, staffing firms to government to small business too.
Wow, the whole gambit. And so would you say your niche is really the customization or the breadth of types of tests? What are some of your offerings?
The number one differentiator is the ability to customize relevant and therefore valid tests, for different jobs. Now, one interesting thing about the testing business in general, people in testing sometimes think there's two kinds of testing. There's hard skills testing and soft skills testing. And soft skills can be behavioral, cognitive, aptitude. The real challenge with running a skills testing company is they don't just develop one or two or three text-based tests that you validate up front and sell for 20 years. You have to constantly develop, maintain hundreds, in our case over 600 modular subjects that you can combine, then have 600 standalone standard tests, then have simulations that emulate things like Microsoft Office applications or chat in a very realistic way. Those are very expensive to develop. So we're both a content company and a software company. And we have to be masters of both to be in this industry. And that's really why you only see 2 or 3 skills testing companies in the industry versus hundreds of behavioral testing companies at this level.
Interesting. And so could you give us an example of how a company would customize something for their needs?
That's a great question. So typically from the hiring manager, you might have the list of skills that this candidate would need to have. So you log into eSkill. We have a very simple user interface that lets you select the subjects needed, delve down into which task-based subtopics we want to get specific, pick those, even pick the questions that are most relevant if you have the cooperation of someone with the expertise.
Sure.
And then you can pick a test length, generate tests. and the software will pick all the questions that map to your requirements.
Very cool.
Yeah, it is. It really is. So have you found that some industries find this more valuable than others, or?
Skills testing tends to be about entry to mid-level job functions that are common across almost all verticals. So if you're an office user, customer service rep, if you work with numbers and spreadsheet, if you're a paralegal or an accountant, those sort of jobs you find in almost every business. And then like NGOs as well. So we're more targeted towards job functions than we are towards verticals.
Okay. And would you do you see applications for both, I know pre-hire, but anything post-hire?
The pre-hire is the most obvious thing that comes up when you think, oh, the skills test. Let's assess these hundreds of candidates to see who's motivated and skilled before we take them to the next level. But we have some very large institutions that, like Foxwoods being an example, that has a whole training program where you set up tests that line up with different course objectives. Yeah, eSkill, you can customize your tests very easily. So you can go and say, okay, we're going to do a course on cash handling or on customer service. And so you can pick the subjects you need, subtopics, pre-test a group of people and say, okay, who needs more training on what? I'm not going to waste everybody's time and my training money creating a whole room full of staff.
Right.
Just take it off their jobs.
I love that.
4 days, say a course that half of them don't even need. So we know that Microsoft does pinpoint as needed task-based training. That's really the future of job training. You sort of pinpoint task-based training on things you need to know. And also assessing to see if you are at the level where you should take a more advanced course.
Right. So I think about, internal promotion. I think about taking an existing employee that we see has potential in a particular area and moving them towards skill-based training as well, right? So I'm sure you have, you've seen a lot of that in your work. So not just for hiring, but also for promotion.
So the larger the organization, the more you have to have standards about
Right.
how you hire
Right.
and how you train. And if you're going to have standards that across the company, it helps to have one content backbone that has all the content you would need. And actually, eSkill, you can also upload your own tests and questions.
Terrific.
So a client of ours like Winn-Dixie has lots of proprietary content that pertain to the products they carry. And so they have their own subjects and tests, and they can blend those with ours.
That is really great. And what would be the advantage? Like, let's say a large company that has their own questions already designed. What would be the advantage to have, pulling them into your system?
So eSkill is also a very powerful test management platform. You upload your test questions, and we have an editor that lets you create many different kinds of questions with graphics and sound files and video files, multiple choice, true, false. We even have a kind of question that lets candidates work on a document, upload it, and the client can assign those to internal reviewers. So we're doing a project like that for the World Health Organization.
Wow, a lot of flexibility there.
So you're forgetting the fact that we have as much or more content than anybody in the world. Skills testing. We also have a platform that even if you only want to use your own tests, you can manage your test questions, create tests out of them, get very powerful score reports, and do that.
That's awesome. So you mentioned earlier about how many assessment tools are on the market for the behavioral side, and I'm well aware of that because I work with some awesome tools that I love, and I understand the potential for misuse if a hiring manager, for instance, doesn't quite understand the intent of the data or understand what the data is saying. But I'm wondering with eSkills, because it's much more around, like you said, the hard skills. Are there cases where an organization could misuse the tool? Have you seen any of that? How would we guard against that?
Well, I've got a really cool story.
Oh, good. We love stories. We love that.
And misunderstand and misuse a skills test. And this wasn't something eSkill was involved in, but it illustrates the point. So there's a company that wanted to hire factory workers, and the factory workers had to have enough strength to lift a 60-pound pallet and put it on a shelf. So the HR department devised a strength test, and the strength test had you pull on a rope to a certain level, and they decided they would hire the top 10% candidates. Higher, but that was the way that you passed that test, and we move on to the next level's consideration. The top 10 percentile of heavy lifters.
Wow.
Can you guys see the problem with why that test is not valid?
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, I'm already laughing. It's just sure.
But maybe it's obvious to you, and I was reading about it, it hadn't occurred to me. So it turns out if the job only requires 60 pounds of lifting strength, and anything more isn't necessary, then a test that cuts off people because they're not in the top 10% is discriminatory.
That's right.
To people, in this case, actually there was a lawsuit for discrimination against women because there were some who were strong enough to do the job, but they weren't in the top 10%. And that was, even though it was a valid test of strength, it was not a valid test
for the particular skill. And in addition, it also omits other pertinent skills to the position. So
that's true. I'm assuming there might have been other tests that covered or other ways of evaluating them that were more on target. But the interesting point to note here is the tests can be relevant and be very valid for testing your ability at a certain task. It doesn't mean that job and that task is relevant to the job.
Nor are we finding the best possible candidates for not just the position, but also for the department, for the culture, for the longevity of the business. Just because I'm strong doesn't mean I don't have a propensity to create harm in the workplace and other areas. And of course, we're all familiar with those or discord or discontent as well. So really great example.
Along those lines, no test vendor, skill testing vendor certainly come to mind, can guarantee that their tests are valid for your jobs.
Right,
Anyone who says that is just being simplistic and misleading. All the skill testing vendor can tell you is our tests will effectively test somebody's ability to do this task or knowledge in the subject area. It's up to the HR department and the employer to make sure that those tasks are part of the job. And eSkill actually has internal test advisors to help HR people who are very busy and have other things to do configure tests that are right for their job requirements.
That's great. And how do you do that? I mean, what's sort of the either the training or the background, the experience of the folks that are helping?
They really just have years and years of experience with assessments.
Yeah.
And with at least enough cooperation from the clients to get these requirements and as much information as possible.
Right.
And then even though the client can of course do it very easily with their interface, we still like to go the extra mile and help them make sure that we have configured, along with their help, multiple tests or maybe that they love, that are really relevant to the job, and that the candidates will appreciate this is a signal of what's needed in this job, and actually maybe I'm not right for this job, or I am so right for this job, and this test is giving me a chance to cut ahead of the line for faster consideration.
Yeah, that's great.
So
it's been my experience too that your team has been helpful to ask the right questions of the hiring manager to uncover what's important and advise them and help them in that way. Brandy, did you have something?
I do. Just as we're wrapping up with just a couple of last questions.
Yeah.
One of the questions that I had is, if you could, Eric, talk to us about somebody listening in today who is not familiar with eSkill. Who is your ideal customer? What are you looking for, and how do you serve those best customers, if you could?
The customer that could take the most advantage of the things that we offer would tend to be those that take their hiring and assessment very seriously. So they're going to take full advantage of the tools to configure tests using our help if need be for every job that's skills appropriate. They can use those tests for internal training, skills gap analysis,
Right.
and then put those tests into hiring. And that's a really good practice. We can also tie into almost any applicant tracking system out there or an independent company. We're owned by an ATS, which means that we can work with almost any ATS.
Great.
So with Taleo, iCIMS, JobFight, many others. And
Great.
we were working with Profiles because Profiles was really, as I mentioned, there were hundreds of behavioral testing companies. Most of them were small and really you couldn't tell the quality of the track record of Profiles. And the knowledge of the sales team, who are also then responsible for advising their clients how to use these tests, was what really impressed us, and we worked together for a long time.
Yeah.
And we still informally work together today.
That's super. Yeah, it's really super.
Robin, one or two last questions? Yeah, go ahead.
So one last question that I had was, Eric, you had that really powerful story before, and I'm wondering if you have another experience that you can share that just sort of either surprised you or blew you away in terms of the impact that the skill testing had for an organization.
Well, I found out from Kelly Painter, one of our enterprise sales executives, that we had a hospitality company that was using eSkill for pre-training assessment. And once they did that, drop out the attrition fallout from the people who didn't want to take the courses because they weren't right for what they wanted. It was reduced 70%.
Oh my gosh.
So it really is more reason than most people realize to give a test before the lesson. Everybody's time and everybody's training money.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, and the discouragement, of the team and everything. I think about all the team dynamics that go with it, Eric. So absolutely. Terrific.
Good point. Well, it's been great to have you. I feel like I've learned a lot, and it sort of reaffirmed what I already knew, which was these are so helpful. And I always believe when you help the individual, you help the organization. If it's not working at the individual level, it's not going to work at the organizational level. And so getting them into the right position at the right level, or knowing where they stand when they come in so you can help support them better to be more productive and effective. And that's exactly what I feel like this does.
In the training environment, absolutely.
Yeah. Super. Well, thank you, Eric. It's been great to have you. And we will and people can reach you. We're going to have at the under this video, you'll have a link where you can get more information about eSkill. So we'll be sure, of course, you can contact Brandy and myself too if you're listening to these series, which we know you are. We're glad you're out there listening. We appreciate it. And again, Eric, thanks for being here with us today.
Well, thanks for the thoughtful questions. Great to meet you.
Oh, you're welcome. You too.
Take care.